The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Media Mash, a roundtable of Cowboys insiders dropping wisdom and offering sizzling takes on the current state of your Dallas Cowboys. Now, your host, Newy Scruggs.
Media Mash here on a Tuesday. It's our first one of the 2023 year. Happy New Year, Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. Happy New Year, John Machota of The Athletic. I'm Newy Scruggs. Lots to get to today. Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys have an opportunity. And who would have thought that a month ago? I certainly did not, but they could end up being the number one seed. They can win the division here. They go up to Washington, left hand up. I don't know if we'll see Carson Wentz. But, boy, I'd love to see Carson Wentz.
Yeah, you would. Would it matter, though?
I love the train wreck.
Genuine question. Would it matter, though?
I just love the train wreck.
Fair enough.
From the time they made the trade for Carson Wentz. I'm like, why would you take that? Mm-hmm. You gave up number two picks for a guy who's been failing and paid him $28 million. Why? Why do you think you could do what his old coach in Indianapolis couldn't do? And then when they threw him out the door, he didn't even get his back. It was bad. But this is what they are as an organization. So you guys are going to go up to Washington and
see Major Tutty.
See Major Tutty. Oh, another major mistake. Gosh, they're so bad. It's going to be a Cowboy crowd. Yes. I mean, it's – so, yeah, I want to see Carson Wentz.
That's fair.
And
that's totally fair.
Look, at this point in time, this may be the last time we see Coach Ron Rivera.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And that's why the Cowboys have to be careful in making sure that they keep the pedal all the way to the floor. Because not only if we're talking about Rivera, we're talking about, whether it be Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, or just any other player that's, not a Deron Payne or those types of players. So many of those coaches and players are going to be playing and coaching to either remain in their current job and have a job in 2023 in Washington, or building for their resume to go somewhere else. So don't expect those guys to lay down and say, okay, well, this all sucks. We're just going to let the Cowboys come in here and run through us. They're trying to spoil the Cowboys' hopes and go out on a high note as well. So, Cowboys, do what you got to do. I mean, you're the better team. You're going against a dysfunctional organization on the whole. Just go in there and break their heart. Just break the hope in the first quarter, and let's have fun for the remaining three.
Kevin Gray, 105.3 The Fan.
Yeah, man. I just want everybody to get out of there healthy. That's all that matters to me at this point. You've gotten to the point where you have an opportunity to possibly steal the NFC East in the number one seed, but just be healthy by the time you get done on Sunday against Washington. And if things happen to break your way and things happen to where you can get the number one seed, great. But if not, everyone get out of there healthy, play to your capabilities, handle your business and get a dub, and get ready for Wild Card Weekend against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady. That's where my mind is. Get out of there healthy, and we'll see. Look, man, let's not even. Let's not even. I was mad because I was talking about this last week, and I didn't realize as I was kind of going through some of the scenarios that was even
that's the scenario,
a possibility.
Yeah,
and then
seed at AT&T.
Yeah, this weekend unfolded. I was like, well, damn it, Aaron Rodgers might be in this building, or at AT&T Stadium, Wild Card Weekend, which would be okay, great.
Which would you prefer? Which would you prefer, Aaron Rodgers at AT&T or Tom Brady and Raymond James?
Tampa Bay's not a good football team. Normally, I would say you want the home field advantage, but I mean, as much as AT&T is a great venue, it's not necessarily
8-1.
I want the worst football team, even if it is Tom Brady and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would take the worst football team.
Yeah, any chance you get to play a home game, I'm taking that one. I shouldn't say any.
This is the only exception. I feel like this is the only exception.
I
feel like this is the only exception.
Is this your exception?
Oh no, my certain exception would be anything that involves there, here, wherever, playing the Giants. Oh. If you can play the Giants, I'll play the Giants. You want to go up there? You want to play it in Detroit? You want to play it in Minnesota? Where do you want to play that one? I would take that. If the Giants are on the table, wherever that game could potentially be, that would be my line one pick after getting a bye. The only thing I was going to add when you said earlier about the Wentz thing, adding talent, whether it's free agency, draft. Clearly not an exact science. So everybody has swings and misses. But to go back to him, you're compounding your problem. You know that it's not there. That's not the right thing. And then in a big moment, you still have a chance to make. Then you think you're going to go back to him. That's when I really think it's worthy of being criticized.
See, when they made the trade, first off, I thought the Colts were just going to cut him.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to want this?
And they were.
Okay. $28 million. So I'm going to pay almost $30 million for that million for this guy, and I'm giving up draft capital, two twos, a 2 and a 3, and the 3 can move up to the 2 for this. No. 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 I mean, if I'm the owner, okay, if it's my team, Ron Rivera comes out, do you want to be fired, Ron? Because I'm going to fire you if that's what you want to do, because you can't be my coach. He can't play. What we saying in the media around here? KP, he can't play. Carson Wentz is KP can't play.
Hey, now.
I'm not giving you
catch strays today,
$30 million
man.
and give up 2 draft picks, and you KP.
Eastern Conference Player of the Week, KP, man, catching strays, man. What you doing? What you doing over
No,
there, man?
KP can't play.
I'm just saying, man.
So literally, that's. I mean, if there's certain things to me. If I'm an owner, you come to me with it, then I know I need to fire you.
That's fair.
If you are thinking Carson Wentz can help you do anything, you need to be fired. Because your old coach, okay? The old coach who said, yes, I can fix him. He couldn't.
Is it a coach thing on that? I don't remember. My internet's working slow here. But is that a coach thing? That is an owner that went and wanted Dwayne Haskins. So.
I think that's the front office.
So, no, Ron Rivera came out and was very adamant. He's like, I made this trade. It was me. So no, this was all Riverboat Ron. He rolled the dice on it.
So I also think that you sometimes could also. I'm not saying that that's 90%. I believe that is the case. But I also think that there is that 10% chance of where you're the head coach, and so that is what goes on. But in front of the team, you don't want to act like that you don't have control. So you step out and you say, no, I was all part of this too. As a head coach, you're not going to sit there and go, hey, guys, just want to be real here before we leave the locker room. I didn't want Carson. Okay, the owner did. So let's just ride with this. Heineke, get ready. We're going to put you in eventually.
And I agree with that. And I think that mask had a crack in it around mid-season in the post-game press conference when the Washington was really just starting to lose games behind Carson Wentz, and they asked Ron Rivera, they said, well, what is it going to take for you guys to get right? Why are you guys, off the rails? And he was like, it's the QB. And then not 2 weeks later, he tries to cover it up in that press conference, getting so, overcompensatory with the emotions. And, the media's doing this. You're not going to come for this guy. Like, relax, Ron. We know you don't want the guy. So to your point, knowing this and having a chance to get into the playoffs, you put him back in?
There you go.
Well, he still might think that they still have a chance to get in the playoffs today. Judging by that post-game press conference, I'm just saying that's not a good look at all.
Between Major Tuddy being unveiled.
How do you unveil? Even if it's the greatest mascot, why would you even do it then? Why is that the unveiling right now? This makes no sense.
That organization has no.
Good.
It's the same reason why there's a mannequin sitting there in a 21
I was going to say,
is it even a mannequin though?
Whatever it is.
It's a statue.
Whatever it is.
The Sean Taylor statue.
Yeah. Whatever
real
that
bad
is.
version of a Gap mannequin.
The name change got leaked out. They couldn't even keep that a secret. They did it themselves with their own videos. People just started zooming in.
Somebody found that on a website and bought a domain or
something. There's so many things.
Right, so they couldn't get that right.
The pipes broken in the stadium, the railing falling on Jalen Hurts. I mean, there's just
I forgot about the railing falling on Jalen Hurts. I forgot about that one.
So many things there.
I
just can't get right.
I stopped going. Right. I'm not going.
Well, that's because of the press box.
But that was my thing. It was just a couple of years ago. When I'm in the press box and it's raining outside, it's raining. I'm like, well, no, and then the hot dogs they serve is like, that doesn't look right.
Sus.
Yeah. Snyder already hates the media. And
it's wild.
Like, I'm not. So literally, I went to Whole Foods. I was like Jory. Like Jory brings her Jory Epstein. Yeah. She brings her own food. It's like, I'm pulling a Jory. I'm bringing my own food.
Yeah.
I was like,
can't trust it.
Yeah, like
there's a Johnny Rockets right outside the press box. I've gone there many times.
I'm good. I'm even good with that. Like I don't trust that. I don't trust that. I don't trust. You know how they do those arena grades?
Yeah.
One time they didn't grade very well, so I'm like, okay, I'm just bringing it with me.
No shit.
There's no question that when I first moved down here and I was working with the Morning News, I was doing a lot of high school football, and man, I would say almost every press box that I was in. For high school football in Texas, everything about it was better than it is in Washington for an NFL game, and I'm not joking. Like, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I covered a game in Waxahachie, and their press box had just like the nicest leather chairs. They had like all this nice food catered and everything like that. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? This is me only a year moved down here from living in Michigan. I'm like, man, they do high school football like this. And so most of them were really, I've been to most of the big schools to cover at least one high school football game, and most of them are really top notch. And so I'm thinking, oh, I get to cover the NFL now. I bet you these are all like, and then I'm doing AT&T Stadium games. Obviously that's amazing. And that I'll never forget the first time I went to Washington. I was like, wow, like, is this just for us? Or and then I asked other reporters that covered their team, like, no, this is for everybody. And I'm like, man, they treat you guys like this. Wow.
No, literally, it's just like there's nothing first class about what Daniel Snyder has brought to that organization. And I don't
understand why you don't try though. It's not like you're losing money. You own a professional sports organization. They print money. I don't understand why you wouldn't put in the effort.
You have to care.
What else are you?
You have to care to try.
He's a petty man. We saw that.
Care to try.
But okay, here, this is where I'm coming from. If you are wealthy enough to own a sports franchise, I think, from my perspective, that is kind of like your shiny thing. That's the thing that you're happy about, that you're proud of. You'd like to be in there. A lot of times, let's be honest, because you were a nerd, this is your way to kind of show off. I'm in with the guys. I'm in with the cool kids. I got a team and stuff like that. I'm going to try and be down in the locker room. I'll be one of the guys. We see, Steve Ballmer on the sidelines and all that stuff like that. Like, you see, so this is your thing to show off. This is what people know you for. Let's be honest. What else would you know Daniel Snyder for? Why wouldn't you take the most pride in that? That's what I don't understand about it.
Either you want to be first class or you don't. He doesn't want to be.
Yeah, I don't get that.
This isn't when Mark Cuban took over the Dallas Mavericks and immediately said, I want to change all of this. It's not Jerry Jones, who takes very much pride in, okay,
this is Jerry's shiny thing.
We want you to leave here saying, oh, yeah, that was great.
Despite Jerry having 100 other things.
No, I know. I just don't get it.
That's true.
What was the last game we went to where they served the cheesesteaks? That's like the big thing there. Their Cowboy cheesesteak. That's one of their big menu items. And I had never had it because they don't have it in the press box, but they whipped it out for that game. And
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And
so good.
Where were we? Where was the last?
I just don't look at Washington as like some expansion franchise that just is barely hanging on. Like now it's being run like that, but I'm saying it is one of those. Yeah,
franchise.
You're thinking about your childhood, man.
Well, I'm also thinking about. I also will say this. I'm also thinking about, and I probably overrate this, but I am one of those people that every time that Forbes list comes out, I always do look at it. And I'm telling you, Washington is a pretty valuable sports franchise amongst them all.
Because of the market you're in.
Right,
it's a valuable market.
You have a diehard fan base. It's not like you're selling this expand. Like, there have to be so many Washington Commanders fans that would love to get back on the bandwagon, but they're given no reason.
They've downsized the
Every
stadium.
reason not to.
Right,
as a matter of fact.
They've downsized the stadium, man.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Growing up, man.
And raise the ticket prices.
Yeah.
The stadium used to rock at RFK.
Yeah.
And literally no one will build. I was in Cleveland when they moved the team, okay? So I know what it is like to watch a team pick up and leave. Mm-hmm. And where the people would not give Art Modell the money. Because they would not give him the money for a new stadium. They built a new basketball arena. They built a new baseball arena. They built the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then they gave money to a science museum. 4 major things. And they told Art Modell, nah, we ain't got no money for you. Daniel Snyder, this is the franchise in the city. Nobody wants to give him money.
What's the best thing they have going for him right now?
That he's going to sell it.
Okay.
And he can make a lot of money.
Yeah, I think
that's where fans are at now. Like, please sell this.
Yeah.
Please sell this. But there's nothing first class about the way he operates his organization, and it's sad.
Or even coach. You're talking about first class. It's not even coach. It's not even Spirit Airlines right now.
No, it's
I don't
not.
understand it at all.
And it's. I have covered the Cowboys. I've covered the Lakers. So I've seen people who do it in a first class. The LA Kings. People don't really realize it. They own the Staples Center. It's Phil Anschutz. That's his building, and they operate in a first class. So when you see this, it's crazy. When we were to Jacksonville, and remember we were eating down there, and they served mac and cheese. Yeah. Calvin Watkins got. I said, "Why are you doing this? Why?
Put yourself through this."
And Bucky Brooks was there. What, come on, man. I was like, it's not going to be Jerry World.
Right.
Okay? You just put something on your plate.
Setting yourself up.
Sometimes you just like the confirmation. You like to just, let me just I think this isn't going to be good. Let me just make sure.
This is the equivalent of when somebody you know from New Orleans comes here to town, in Dallas-Fort Worth, they want to go to Cajun restaurant. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? You know you're about to.
Setting yourself up.
Right. You're about to be mad. We're going to go somewhere and you're about to be upset. Don't do it. So here's Calvin putting the mac and cheese on the plate. I'll at least try it. Why? First, it didn't even look the same.
Yeah.
There was no cream on it. It was like creamy. It was like,
not,
don't do it. He got it. I was like, see? And then Bucky's like, well, you guys are all highfalutin. And I was like, you know what, Bucky Brooks? You're right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm spoiled. Okay, you get very spoiled. Everything about Jerry World will spoil you. I was at the Fiesta Bowl, and where the Cardinals play, and you're spoiled. It's just everything is just. Now SoFi Stadium is where that's because that's based off Jerry World. It's a bigger deal. 10 years later, they've taken everything to another level. But it's hard. It's hard. But at the same time too, it's a way you operate. Stan Kroenke operates in a first class fashion.
When his jumbotron works, but go ahead.
I hadn't been there the last time I was there. It worked for the Super Bowl.
I'm sure it'll work.
The last time
for
I was
Georgia
there,
TCU, I'm sure it'll work that day.
Last time I was there, it was working for the Super Bowl. So that's what it was. Hey, we'll take a break. When we come back, let's dive into what Mike McCarthy had to say. And what about Tony Pollard? Okay, what happens with Tony Pollard? Cowboys taking on Washington this Sunday up in Landover, Maryland. The Cowboys have hope to win the division, get the number 1 seed. A lot of things that they wanted are still out there. Big credit to Mike McCarthy and his staff because I picked Philadelphia to win the division this year. But we'll do that next with Patrick Walker. We've got Kevin Gray, and that's John Machota. I am Newey Scruggs. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite and 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field. United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf. For winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com radio with Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. You've got Kevin Gray, 105.3 The Fan, the official radio station of the Dallas Cowboys, and John Machota of The Athletic. All right, John, high points from McCarthy today's press conference.
No McCarthy today. Yesterday.
Yesterday, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would say I don't know if there was really one major thing that stood out. I mean, it was obviously a lot of questions about health of guys and who he was gonna who's gonna be playing. And it sounds like they had all hands are on deck aside from Leighton Vander Esch, Jonathan Hankins.
Playoffs.
Yeah, they're heading for playoffs there. But Tony Pollard, he'll be back. So
Farniok might be back for the playoffs.
Right. So I think those were like the biggest things as opposed to any other big picture, unless I'm forgetting anything.
No, I agree. I mean, and of course the lead question was, for the most part, going to be, are you considering resting any starters or pulling any starters early in the game? Are you considering the reality that there might be some scoreboard watching during the game, and how does that work? And McCarthy told a very funny anecdote that basically ended with saying the Cowboys, for the most part, are going to try to win this game. They're looking at 4 quarters of football. And Jerry Jones, in speaking with 105.3 FM The Fan on his Tuesday morning address, said the same thing. He was like, there's a lot on the line. We're going to try to win this game. Because bottom line is, worst case scenario, you're not dropping below 5. Best case scenario, you win this game, you have a shot at 1. You might fall from 1 to 2. Like, if you can't get 1, you might still end up at 2. So you have a lot that you can gain, but you can't. There's nothing to lose. So go win this game and give yourself a possibility of getting a home game to start off with your playoff run.
Yeah, the only thing you could lose would be on an injury. You know, like we see in that Tennessee game where, Dak grabs his knee real quick and you're like, oh, what is this? And it ended up not being anything of note. That's the type of stuff that you would be a little bit nervous about. You're putting guys out there. Everything seems to be trending in the right direction for T.Y. Hilton and, Jason Peters out there playing. If they go with that same offensive line, you'd hate to see any of them suffer any setbacks or anything like that. But as long as they get through it healthy, or as healthy as you possibly can, then I don't see any reason why not to. But they did that last year. They played guys when late. So I don't.
Football.
I do buy into also the having momentum going into the playoffs. I know it didn't work out for them last year, but I don't know, the whole just sitting
Which
guys.
Which is one main reason Brian Daboll is not going to rest his starters against the Eagles.
Control what you can control.
Yeah,
and this,
I do wonder if he changes his tune as the week goes on.
You can control what happens
I'll
in this game.
explain why I don't think he will.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I wonder if he changes his tune, though, as the week goes on, though.
There is only so much you can do. This isn't like it's a college team where you can sit there and rest 20 guys. I mean, there's only so many players that you cannot have active. So, I mean, I guess, if he's going to sit Kayvon Thibodeau and Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones in that.
I don't see it. And I don't
even if
see
they don't, though, I don't think they're beating the Eagles, even with them going full speed and they're trying to win the game. As you can tell earlier from the show, I don't really think the Giants are. I mean,
all that good.
I mean, honestly, when they won that game, all I kept thinking of is that Patrick Beverly taking his jersey out, running in the crowd like that whole meme. Yeah, like I was like, they're happy. I get it. They're
one shining moment after.
I understand they haven't made the playoffs since 2016, but if there's any team that's going to make the playoffs, AFC or NFC, that you'd like to play, tell me a team you'd rather play other than the Giants.
But I think for the Giants, when it comes to Week 18, number one, I agree. I do believe momentum is a thing going into the playoffs. Okay. The Giants have lost 5. They have 4 losses and 1 tie. 4 losses and 1 tie in their last 8 outings. Okay. They're anti-momentum right now, okay? They won to finally clinch in Week 17, but their starters haven't earned the rest. And I think that's one mindset that Brian Daboll is going into, saying, hey, you guys need these reps. We have one final game to try to get this stuff together. It's not like you were on a win streak in December. And no. Like, you were really messing some stuff up, so get them out there. Point number 2 being, Brian Daboll, as competitive as he is, you don't think he remembers that the Eagles went on the MetLife field and slapped them silly, slapped the Giants silly. He wants revenge for that. But then also, as a divisional rival, you have an opportunity. Now, here's 4D chess. You have an opportunity to try to prevent the Eagles from having home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And if you're Brian Daboll and you actually do believe that you can advance in the playoffs, if you don't prevent that right now, you might set yourself up later on to have to go to Philly in a playoff scenario to win the game.
Right.
All 3 of those points point to Brian Daboll saying, you know what, we gotta handle this business in Week 18.
So how much of this, as a rookie head coach, comes into establishing your program? This is what we're about. I think about Tom Coughlin playing New England in that what was a meaningless game for him.
And what happened after that?
And
back in 07.
Right, they lost it, and New England ends up with a perfect regular season. They meet them again. I know Daboll had coached Belichick. I'm not sure if he was a part of that team or not, but he spent several years coaching in New England. But I just wonder, is that the thing? Hey, we got a bunch of young guys here. We've overperformed here, but I don't want you guys to let up and think, hey man, that's what I'm wondering.
Can't afford to.
Right, and so it'll be interesting. What a fantastic week. The NFL once again does a smart thing where everybody's playing a divisional game. You're hoping that this matters here, and there's a bunch of good football games to watch on Sunday.
And they're playing them all at the same time.
That have implication, like EPL,
Yeah.
like the EPL, the English Premier League. Everybody's playing at the same time here. Let's see what happens. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope Carson Wentz is out there for Washington.
You really want it. You need it.
You know what?
He needs
I won't be there, but you guys enjoy how many Cowboy fans invade the place again.
As always.
I'll bring you back a hot dog.
I'm good.
With the red line.
I can go to Pink's out there in Los Angeles and be just fine.
I will say I'm a little disappointed because Michelle had brought up the scenario last week where if things had broken the right way and Washington had won this weekend, you could possibly have a scenario where Mike McCarthy could do what he could to prevent Aaron Rodgers and the Packers from possibly making the playoffs and maybe sitting, his guys against, Washington. If they had been locked into the 5th seed, couldn't play and move up anymore. I was kind of hoping to maybe see some of that.
You wanted some petty.
I did. I kind of wanted to see that. I just wanted to see what McCarthy would actually do in that situation, whether or not he would actually keep out, Aaron Rodgers.
I'm glad to
scenario.
see that McCarthy kept the foot on the throttle the entire time after the Jacksonville loss, because now you've seen that this is football. Things happen. No one expected that after losing to Jacksonville, that 2 days later, news will come out that Jalen Hurts injured his throwing shoulder. Now it's the Gardner Minshew show for at minimum 1 game, which then turned into 2 games. And now we're sitting here having a conversation about Nick Sirianni saying he believes, air quotes, that Jalen Hurts will be, quote, healthy enough, end quote, healthy enough. The Cowboys have effectively forced the Eagles to do what they did not want to do. What they wanted to do was rest Jalen Hurts for nearly a month to heal up completely for the first playoff game. Now you have to rush him back, hopefully to save the day. That's going to, in my eyes, impact how he approaches the game. He's primarily a running quarterback. Does he think twice about taking off now? And then when he's in the pocket, is he nervous about pressure, whether real or perceived, because he doesn't want to take a sack on that particular shoulder?
Yeah,
it's all psychology now.
For sure, because my thing with Jalen Hurts and the injury is that he's so dynamic and athletic that the big plays will still be there for him in the running game. And he's got the arm and he's got the receivers that stuff will be there. What I wonder about is 3rd and 1s where they do their little rugby scrum, all the runs that he does through the middle on like 3rd and 4s that you're just like, I can't believe you do this with your quarterback, kind of like on the play where he got hurt on. If you take that out, that takes a part of his game. A part of that is what's helped him be an MVP contender all season long. So I'm interested to see what happens when you do take that, because there's going to be just certain situations where they're like, yeah, 2nd and 10. There's a lot of times in the past where we would have ran Jalen here because we know he'll get 5 or 6 yards. You doing that right now? Right. You doing that? Would it potentially I'm not sitting here saying that it's going to be Saints bounty gate or anything like that, but teams in the NFL know. That's why a lot of guys don't want to tell you what injuries they have, because they don't want other. And that's not just an NFL thing. That's sports in general. Basketball players to do that all the time too. So there's also that issue of just not even targeting the injury. Just, hey, make sure when you get a chance to hit him, you put a good lick on him. And teams do that kind of stuff, and they're gonna and everybody's gonna be aware of that when they play Jalen Hurts. And you're absolutely right. The Cowboys forced them to have to play him right now, and they definitely didn't want to do that.
And that's what I'm saying. Even if the Cowboys, if the odds go to absolute zero because, either they lose against the Commanders, I don't see that happening, or they win, but the other cards don't fall in their favor. The fact that you force the Eagles into this situation might negatively impact their postseason.
Right.
That is a win for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Is Jalen Hurts the MVP, especially based off the fact that he went out and they've lost 2 games?
No.
And they're in a they're fighting to try to keep something that we assume they'd have.
I think everybody judges MVP differently, and everybody can make their own case. Me personally, I'm not saying this is the right way to do it or not, but I kind of factor in what that player would do on any team in the league, and so for me, it's going to be tough for me to say it's anybody other than Patrick Mahomes. Because if you put Patrick Mahomes on that Eagles roster, are we being serious right now? Let's not even play. Let's just call it right now.
Averaging 50.
Yeah. So you talk about Lamar Jackson. I mean, Lamar Jackson, they built everything around him.
Yeah. Oh, Lamar Jackson on that Eagles team would be nasty.
But how many other teams?
Yeah.
You couldn't put him in that Kansas City offense. You couldn't do it. You couldn't put him on.
I mean,
maybe
you
the
could.
Buffalo, maybe
you could. I don't know if he'd be
Bills,
an MVP candidate, but I still think he'd win a lot of games. I mean, with the weapons they have there, and then the fact that with Andy Reid and Bieniemy, I mean, they've got a good scheme. But yeah, there's no question he's not having Mahomes' success. So Mahomes is the MVP to me.
Okay, so Mahomes, who's your MVP?
Mahomes.
Mahomes.
I'll be out here with Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
That's me.
You'll be out there with him.
That's okay.
Mahomes finna throw for over
No,
5,000 yards.
right.
Or did he reach the 5,000-yard mark on Sunday? Or if I know he's close, but regardless, he's going to hit the 5,000-yard mark.
I think he did. I think so he's done it twice now.
And he did it this year without Tyreek Hill.
Before we go to break here, Tony Pollard, 988 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Do you make sure he gets 1,000 and pull him out of the game?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that's their plan, too.
He deserves that.
They want to see him
Get him his 12, 13 yards, and then it's Malik Davis and Ezekiel Elliott.
And, that's going to be – they're going to give them a difficult time running the ball. Washington, their defensive front has been what's been one of their strengths. And it's not like the Cowboys have ran the ball well recently. So I'm interested. That's one of the parts of this game I'm most interested to see is can they get anything going in the run game because in Tennessee's very good against the run. Cowboys tight ends didn't block very well in that game. That needs to improve, or they need to come up with some other wrinkles because you're going to have to run the ball against some of these teams in the playoffs.
All right, let's take a break. Want to dive into something that I've observed about Mike McCarthy during the season. We'll do that next with John Machota, Kevin Gray, Patrick Walker. I'm Newey Scruggs. This is the Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This week! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is.
It's a non-fungible token. Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to Media Mash.
Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com radio. Cowboys getting ready to face Washington on Sunday up in Landover, Maryland. We got John Machota of The Athletic, Kevin Gray, 105.3 The Fan, and Patrick Walker of DallasCowboys.com. So, want to touch on Mike McCarthy. And I know this, I was reading Gary Myers' tweet, who worked here and covered the Cowboys 30 years ago, saying that, well, if Mike McCarthy can't get to the NFC Championship game, then Jerry's got to go get him another coach and get rid of him. And then I watched Ed Werder go at it with Gary about it because it was entertaining to watch two guys.
Just turn back the clock for you to.
Yeah. And I just said to myself, with Gary's like, you really don't appreciate what Mike McCarthy has done this season. Mm-hmm. And, oh, by the way, you match his record up and Sean Payton's record up. And, oh, by the way, it's a pretty much draw. Both guys have won a Super Bowl. Both guys have had some teams you thought maybe should have gone further, but they're, in a lot of ways, essentially the same coach. But watching Gardner Minshew lose 2 in a row made me think about Mike McCarthy you had to go with Cooper Rush. He went 4-1 with Cooper Rush. Mm-hmm. The first game that he played was at home against Cincinnati. That was his, you hate to say must win, but you go 0-2. We know how hard it is to climb out of that hole.
Yeah. Yep.
So you beat a team that played in the Super Bowl last year with one of the up-and-coming young quarterbacks in the game, and Joe Burrow. They win that. So you beat Cincinnati. You go up to the Giants, and you win there. Then you beat Washington at home, and then you go out to Los Angeles, and you beat the Super Bowl champion L.A. Rams before losing at Philadelphia. Not enough.
And that was a much different Rams team than the one that's out there right now.
Right, but still.
No, I mean that in a way that wasn't more impressive. You still have Stafford. You still have Cooper Kupp. You still have Aaron Donald.
It was a
and
more
Ramsey.
competitive team. Yes, yes. Right. And I just looked at that and I just said, okay, that's an impressive coaching performance from McCarthy and Kellen Moore and Doug Nussbaum, the whole thing to get this done. And now when you're seeing that Jalen Hurts is missing 2 games and Gardner Minshew in Philadelphia have lost 2, and now you're in peril of becoming a wild card. Coaching matters. Getting guys ready to go matters. Making sure that the game plan is working around them matters, because Minshew can't do what Jalen Hurts does. He can rush for any yards. That's not what he does. So that just makes me appreciate Mike McCarthy even more. Watching Ron Rivera go to Carson Wentz and that whole thing blow up and now they're eliminated, it makes me appreciate him more. Nathaniel Hackett, you guys were out there August in Denver. I mean, they had all these high hopes. That team was talking a lot of cash noise about themselves. He's fired now. Makes me appreciate Mike McCarthy. He doesn't beat his chest, so he doesn't have the pub that Sean Payton gets. But the guy's done a really good football job.
Yeah, absolutely. Coaching. I mean, he's got a chance to win 25 games in 2 seasons. I mean, that just hasn't happened around here in a long time. But the thing for me with Mike, and the reason why I believe that he doesn't get as much credit nationally and maybe is criticized more nationally, is because how many coaches do you not really are the head coach that no one is sitting there and giving them all the credit or blame for the offense or for the defense? Because it seems like with the Cowboys, if the offense does well or does poorly, people are looking at Kellen Moore or Dak. And then if it's on the defense, it's like on Dan Quinn. And, like when he was in Green Bay, he was calling the offense. So I just feel like the tangible thing of people being able to see on the sidelines, like they pan the sideline with the camera, and he's looking at the play sheet and calling the plays. Like, it just adds more to people, because you don't get to see what's happening here, Monday through Saturday. So you don't really know. And to be honest with you, these coaches don't really want you to know what goes on Monday through Saturday. That's one of the things that they have is their advantage each week going in, is how you get a team ready. So for what he's done these last 2 seasons, I don't know how you could say that it has to be the NFC Championship game or not. But if they lay an egg again in that first round like they did last year, there's going to be some tough conversations. There just is. That's just how this business is. Because let's be honest, you talk about Jerry talking on the radio today. I mean, it's very clear Jerry feels the same way about this team as he did about last year's, and maybe even likes it even more. Jerry clearly thinks this is a team that should be making a run. He thought last year's team should make a run. So if you have 2 teams that you think should make a run and they both exit early, on the person that's making that decision.
When does he not feel that way, though?
No, but I agree with John in that. I think it's more so now than even last year, because if you look at this offseason, right? You go and you get Jason Peters and you get Anthony Barr. Mid-season, you make the trade for Jonathan Hankins. Oh, he's listening. Need a big body nose tackle. Jerry goes out and gets him. He's sitting and having these ongoing conversations with OBJ, trying to get that, the wide receiver core over the top. That falls to the wayside. But in the meantime, guess what? He brings in T.Y. Hilton, unbeknownst to most until it actually happened or just was about to happen. T.Y. Hilton now can potentially take you over the top in that. So if you look at those acquisitions and you look at 24, potentially 25 wins over the past couple of seasons, but then I'll add another layer on it. We're talking about Sean Payton. Remember that going into this season, a lot was being said about, is Jerry Jones and are the Cowboys setting Mike McCarthy up for a potential lame duck season? You trade Amari Cooper, you release Lyle Collins, so forth and so on. Oh, well, Sean Payton is out there, and this is all to set up for Sean Payton to be the Cowboys coach in 2023. So if you're Mike McCarthy, if your mind is not mentally fortified, you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Let's just get through this season. Instead, he comes into the training camp, comes into the regular season, week 1, he's ready. Yes, the Cowboys lay an egg week 1. Even more of a reason, if you're McCarthy, to say, okay, well, this just isn't going to work.
And the quarterback's hurt.
And the quarterback's hurt. You go into week 2, and the definition of the creed that you've laid upon the team, resiliency shows itself. You defeat the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, okay. Everybody's like, well, that might have been lucky. And then another win, and another win, and another win before it takes 3 interceptions from Cooper Rush to lose barely to the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. At this point in the season, I agree with John in that all things considered, I no longer see it as NFC or bust for Mike McCarthy. But I will say, it either has to be an extremely if you lose, knock on wood, in the first round, it has to be extremely competitive, heartbreaking. I don't know, bad call or no call from the ref, whatever the case may be.
There's context,
right? It's context. For me, you win that game. If he gets at least to the second round, and you consider all things, I think he's fine. But I will say this: here's the caveat. I really feel like this reminds me. 2022 reminds me of a. 2016, 2014, the DeMarcus.
Not 2014. Can't be 2014. And the reason I was going to say this is because when you said, when has Jerry not been like this? 2014 training camp,
That's fair.
Jerry said it was going to be an uphill battle. I will never forget that because he's usually pumping sunshine when we're out there in Oxnard. He said it would be an uphill battle in 2014. Also, to answer your question, I never got the sense from covering all those Jason Garrett teams that he had the same confidence that Jason Garrett. But Jason Garrett was like, I'm giving him a chance to. We're going to watch him grow into him hoping he would be able to reach what Mike McCarthy's already reached. He did not hire Mike McCarthy to, hey, let's just hope we can build Mike up to being he already accomplished that thing. And even with Mike McCarthy in 2020, when you put those players out on the field in free agency that he did, Don Terry Poe, Everson Griffin, Alden Smith, HaHa Clinton Dix, Daryl Worley, Gerald McCoy, and all those, nothing is hitting there. And then these last 2 years, you're hitting. There's no question he feels way better about this team than he did.
My point was, and you're right about 2014, but my overarching point in that aspect is I feel like this Cowboys team and our coaching staff, because you have to worry about Dan Quinn, his offseason, is it going to be the Gones? Is it going to be, the Denver Broncos? Everybody, you talk about it all the time. Those teams are going to go hard at Quinn. Is Joe Witt potentially going to leave if Quinn leaves, or is Joe Witt your defensive coordinator? But then what does that leave Joe? These are all the tough conversations that need to be had. And it makes it crystal clear that if this team in its current construct does not make a deep playoff run and or end up in the Super Bowl and finally break that drought, it's going to be just torn apart for the most part. The Dalton Schultz conversation, the Dan Quinn conversation, all of these are conversations. Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott's contract versus retaining Tony Pollard, how does that work? All of that is on the table if you don't handle this now.
It kind of reminds me, and I know there's some differences, obviously, but and you were in you've been in California. You think about the 04 to 06 Chargers, I think it was. They won 35 games from that 04 to 06 span, and then the 06 year, Schottenheimer in that group, I think it went 14-2. That was the LaDainian Tomlinson MVP year, and then they lose in the divisional round to the Patriots and Tom Brady. It kind of reminds me in some of that way that with all the massive success, and I know McCarthy lost Dak Prescott in year one, they went 6-10, that kind of thing. But even with the 6 wins that they had, they will have won 31 games if they went on Sunday in 3 years here.
The Chargers situation.
And they don't have a 2-game losing streak this season at all.
The Chargers situation is different because this was the GM who hated the head coach. They had issues.
And they won 14 games that final year.
Right, but this was all about AJ against Marty Schottenheimer.
Yeah.
And AJ won. So, that situation, because I've talked to LT about it all the time, it was you don't fire a guy like that. That's it was personal. It's kind of like getting rid of Amari Cooper. It was a personal thing. It wasn't about performance. This was a personal thing, which and AJ paid the price for because he had a really good football coach. But I got to see the context. And when you're talking about Jason Garrett, those were 3 8-8 seasons. Because I remember distinctly when Jason took over, he wasn't talking all about growing. It was all of a sudden the 8-8. He was trying to justify.
Jerry doesn't feel that way about those teams, not just with the Jason thing, but let's just be honest. They've never had a defense like they've had these last 2 years. They never, during Jason Garrett's entire time. It was a very patchwork, do hard, let's hope Jeremy Mincey gets his 10 sacks.
Over talent.
Right, exactly. And they have that defense now, too, to go with an offense that ever since your franchise quarterback has gotten back healthy from a finger injury that obviously you had to think that, man, this could derail the entire season. Now all of a sudden the offense is putting up huge numbers with him back, and you have that defense, and you have this defensive coordinator that is going to have head coaching interests. Like, if you're not excited, or I shouldn't say excited, obviously he is, but if you're not more excited about this team than those others, you're just lying to yourself.
Mike McCarthy is in the conversation for. He probably won't win it because you're up against guys like Nick Sirianni, but he's in the conversation for head coach of the year. And the fact that he's even in the conversation for it makes it kind of unfathomable to say, okay, well, anything short of the NFC Championship is going to get a potential head coach of the year candidate who has 24, 25 wins, a regular season, 30 plus on the whole. Like that's hard to wrap my head around.
Dayball will win it.
But
the Giants.
That said,
he'll win it.
Go win the damn thing.
It's just.
I hope, dude.
It's just going to be.
Go win the damn
It's
thing.
just going to be interesting.
Shout out to Mike Tomlin if they get into the playoffs on Sunday.
Yeah,
that should be the coach of the year.
I love me some
just
Mike,
senimental coach of the year for me. Mike Tomlin.
It's the Giants. It's New York.
Are the Giants having a better year than or a more surprising year than the Jaguars?
No. Peterson is
because Peterson
is in the conversation also.
Look,
Peterson, Sirianni, McCarthy.
Because that's the coach of the year is like when you say McCarthy, and I agree with you. There's a lot of things he's done where you can say that, but it's the issue is that he was the coach last year. Most of this team's back. They won 12 games last year, won the NFC East. The coach of the year generally goes to somebody that, like, their team, you had very low expectations. You weren't expecting them to really do anything, you know?
If you know what? I mean, look, and I don't know when the ballots are due, Jacksonville wins it.
Yeah.
It should be Peterson.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and this is just me, when they hired him, I said they're going to be good. Because it's a real coach in the building, and he was a Super Bowl winning coach. But for some reason, I don't know why. It's almost like Mike when he was out there on the market. Why wouldn't you hire this? Well, he should have had more offers. He's a good football coach, and what they did is what they've done has been pretty good. Their defense, the last 3 weeks, it's been playing some really, really good defense here, and I think it's also a combination of guys starting to understand this is our scheme, this is what we do, and him knowing the players, and them. We've seen Trevor Lawrence become what we thought he would be. You see there's a future with him. I'm very impressed by what he's done.
You don't think that sometimes coaches just get stale and you got to just move to somebody else?
Yes, which is why it's paramount that the Cowboys capitalize on windows like this because it's hard. It's hard
How many
for
years
coaches to
stale,
continually
That's the question.
reset.
I don't think you can set a year thing. I think you know it by being around the team. Is the team kind of, okay, we're doing this again? Like it's not really on the edge and whatever. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because you can be critical of the Eagles for moving on from him. But if the Eagles go and win the Super Bowl this year, how critical of the Eagles are you going to really be? Because if the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year, you can say whatever you want. Howie Roseman is as good as anybody in the business.
Contrarily, if the Eagles, after a season like they're having, if they flounder and go one and done, it's going to be real difficult for that locker room to buy in next year to Sirianni again. Now, I'm not going to say they want to go stale as early as 2023, but the mold starts to creep in on the bread in Philadelphia in that situation because I think that if you're comparing the two, I think McCarthy is the better coach.
2 years. So after 2 years, you start saying
because I think McCarthy is the better and to your point, more proven coach of the two. So that buys him much more of a grace period as far as guys are going to continue to buy in. I don't even want to speak it negatively. However, if the Cowboys for whatever reason don't go and win the damn thing like that we all want them to, as long as they don't lay the goose egg or get embarrassed in the first round.
It's the context.
Right, it's the context.
The context
right.
of how you.
So that's what
all that's going to be. And that's just been my thing.
It's much more difficult for me to believe that anything short of just getting stomped in the first round is going to lead to any type of staleness from the players' viewpoint toward McCarthy. But I promise you, especially the Philadelphia market, Sirianni gets a regular season like this, flounders in the playoffs, watch that market turn.
Patrick Walker, Kevin Gray, John Machota, I'm Newy Scruggs. This has been today's Media Mash right here on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!